everyone, today I'd like to review some of the basics of printmaking with you. So to help me out, I use a bench hook again for my ink, and I use a brayer. And I hook the bench hook to a table, and I am going to start with black ink today, and ink does stain, so I'm wearing my handy dandy smock, and I've pushed my sleeves up, and I'm going to be extra careful. Squeeze about the size of a quarter on there, and then instead of getting these really long strings and this gross ink and capping it up, I wipe the cap on my bench hook, and I put the cap back on. Now I'm really careful with my brayer when I'm spreading the ink out. I want it to spread nice and evenly, so I'm going to go back and forth and up and down. But what you can't really see me doing is I'm gently lifting my brayer and putting it down in a new spot to help spread it out. I'm also avoiding the edge because I tend to reach and then I get ink all over my pants. So I'm gently, barely pressing it off, going up and down and back and forth to get some nice, even ink. And once I feel like it's nice and even, you have to avoid the temptation to get in that hypnotic state. You actually want to make a print. So I'm going to take my brayer with all that nice ink on it and apply it to my pre-carved printmaking block. And I don't quite have enough. So I'm going to go back and get some more ink and do it again. Now as I'm looking at it, I need to get the corners and edges, so I need to press a little bit harder this time. There we go. Corners and edges. Now I can see some really nice clean edges. Sometimes if you want, you can even put a piece of an old phone book underneath if you think you got to press really hard, it might get messy. Now when you're all done, I like to park my brayer on the back, turn it around, boop, put the handle in a nice clean spot, and then I move over to make my print. When I print, I have my paper all set up ready to go ahead of time, and I'm always sure to write my name on the back and the period that I have art. And a lot of people try to pick up their printing block and they try to flip it and do crazy things. Just leave it. Make sure the space around it's clean. So you might want to move it over so you get a nice clean space. Check for fingerprints, wipe them on your smock if you need to. And then very gently, you just place the paper over top of the block and you press it on. This part requires a little more muscle. So you can use a tool called a Baron to press really hard. Sometimes I use a spoon at home, or we have little rubbing sticks. And you can really, really, really put a lot of pressure on there. In printmaking studios, they have a printing press that does this for you, but we're gonna start the traditional way. Really put some pressure there. White knuckles, stand over it, use your body weight, and try to get as much ink from your block onto the paper. This is also a little crooked, but we'll get to ways that you can make sure your prints are nice and even as we work more. For now, I'll just trim it out of the paper cutter. And when you're ready, you're very carefully going to pull up the corner and pull a print. Here we go. Pulling my print. Then, the most important step is to look at it and to assess your progress as an artist. And one of my points to ponder for today is that no print is ever perfect. So when you make a print, what we like to do is look at it and decide what changes you're going to make next. You're trying to make a print that you really like. And the thing that I love about printmaking is it's very quick and repetitive. You can instantly go back and make another print. When you're all done looking at and reflecting, make sure you put your print in a safe space to dry so it doesn't get ink on it. And then when it's totally done for today and you're ready to clean up, you're going to take your printing block, you're going to take your bench hook and your brayer, and you're going to go to the sink. Here we go. Sink time. Make sure when you're at the sink, you're still wearing your smock. And the other thing I make sure of is the water has a low pressure. So before you get crazy, turn the water on just a little bit. Good. And you're gonna wash with a sponge. Don't just use your hands to wash. Grab a sponge, and first you're gonna wash off your printing block, and then you're gonna wanna dry this with a paper towel. Sometimes it stains, but if the water's running clear, you're all set. Then you get a paper towel, and you're gonna dry your printing block. This you wanna keep in a nice safe space. And I always save my paper towel to reuse it for something else. Then, you're going to wash the bench hook and the brayer with your paper towel also. Whoa, not too much water. Use your sponge. And make sure you get all the ink off. And I have nice little drying containers by the sink. Once you get all the ink off, you can put the wet bench hook right in the drying spot. Same thing with the brayer. If you have a lot of ink caked up in your brayer, you're going to want to pull the brayer apart, which you can do with these brayers, and then you could really make sure it's clean. And again, once it's totally clean, you can put it in the drying space right next to each sink. And then I just give my sponge a little rinse a couple times. Make sure you get all the ink out, put it back, give your hands a nice little bit of soap. And then you're done with this part. You can go back and organize your prints, clean your table, and help out some of your fellow artists. Hopefully that gives you enough to get started, and then we'll get to more of the advanced ideas that you can tackle once you get the basics down pat. Thanks.